Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today, we're discussing why I feel Rogal Dorn must be the next Primarch to return. No real need for a spoiler warning today, so we can waste no time and just jump straight in. Okay, so with the awakening of Lion El'Jonson and his return to the galaxy, I really feel that now it's only a matter of time until the rest of the surviving loyal brothers return. That it may take a while, and indeed most likely will, but one day we'll have all the loyal Primarchs back and laying waste to the enemies of mankind. And as much as I love all the Primarchs, as much as there's huge individual advantages to all of them, I can't help but think it's Rogal Dorn who is needed the most. If not by the Imperium, then most certainly by his brothers. So far, we have Roboute, Guilliman and Lion El'Jonson returned to the galaxy. Guilliman, as we know, alone has been carrying the weight of mankind's survival upon his shoulders, pulling the Imperium back from the brink and giving humanity a fighting chance. Whereas El'Jonson, for all his protection of the people, has only just been reunited with his modern day sons, as of yet to be reintegrated to the real Imperium structure, reunited with Roboute. And when they do, I fully expect the two of them to work together for their father's empire. Both of them know the perilous state of the galaxy, and they know that they need each other to turn the tide. And they both have heavy regrets for the mistakes of the past. However, a leopard can't change its spots. A Primarch cannot change their nature. Roboute is the same man he always was, building empires, and El'Jonson has the same fiery temper within, the same secretive nature. The scars of the past, for all their good intent, will absolutely rise to the surface at some point, and there will be difficult moments between the two. The breaking of El'Jonson's legion, the improving upon the Emperor's design with the Primaris, already things we have seen the Lion infuriated by, and Guilliman's expansion of Ultramar will undoubtedly be something he sees as the same actions of the heresy, the empire building of his brother that he so distrusts. And Guilliman, while not doubting El'Jonson's loyalty, will absolutely be second guessing every move the Lion makes, questioning if he can trust El'Jonson to act as he needs him to, or if he'll see him strike off on his own secretive agenda, as he always does. The scars of the past can be forgiven, but they can never be forgotten. And with the best of intent, the old grudges will bubble beneath. And this is why I think Rogal would be the perfect and only Primarch who could truly solve the situation. Vulcan is a much loved brother, by far the most human of all the Primarchs. We haven't seen his relationship with El'Jonson, but the Lion viewed his slain body upon Macragge and at least appeared fairly mournful, and we know that Guilliman liked him. I don't doubt that Vulcan would be liked, would be able to appeal to his two brothers during those tense times, but I don't think the Lord of Drakes would have enough respect as a commander, as a tactician from them, to make them truly listen, to back up, and even enforce his stance if he had to. I think both Guilliman and El'Jonson would secretly see themselves as far above him, look down on him in a way, and so Vulcan for me would lose a bit of steel in his position. his arguments. Now look, I'm not doubting him as a warrior, but in any argument or disagreement between the Lion and Roboute, Vulcan's appeals to the heart would have sway in person, but they'd be quickly forgotten after the moment. We've seen even Sanguinius struggled with the bickering Lion and Guilliman, and he was there in person the whole time. So what hope would a Vulcan have, with his brothers dispersed across the galaxy? Leman Russ may have his physical threat and reputation of the wolves, being the executioner, but I think we all know in truth he'd be happy to let them settle their own differences themselves. While Jagatai may be fairly similar, offering his opinion, but not casting any judgment. And honestly, even as much as I love Russ and the Khan, again, I think Guilliman and El Johnson would both privately think they know better. And until we see more of Corax, I struggle to see him having any real return to Imperial structure at all. His return is going to be very intriguing, to say the least. And so honestly, that only leaves Rogal, who could be the bulwark between the two. A Primarch who had his differences with El Johnson in the Crusade, and of course famously had his differences with Roboute in the Scouring. But a Primarch who undoubtedly commands respect from the both, as a warrior and as a tactician in equal measure. A man who was chosen by the Emperor to be his Praetorian, who alone out of the three of them was there during the siege, commanding the defence in fact, who was Lord Commander of the entire Imperium throughout the heresy, who boarded the vengeful spirit alongside their father, and who carried his body home, placing him upon the throne. Whether they got on with Rogal or not, regardless of their own histories with him, he would command their respect. When Rogal spoke, the Lion and Guilliman would listen, and his words would carry weight with them. And I think he'd have the steel to back those words up, if he had to. And they wouldn't question that either. They would know if Rogal said something, he would mean it. In Rogal Dorn, there is the perfect blend of a Primarch focused on the smaller, yet the grander picture in equal measure, whose opinion would be forced to be valued. They wouldn't be able to disregard or forget it as emotional, as say Vulcans, and they wouldn't be able to write it off as egotistical, as say Russes. And that matters. That matters. Because Guilliman and El Johnson need to listen to a calmer head, an objective mind, when they are alone with their thoughts on their flagship, a galaxy away from each other. Roboute, when he receives reports of El Johnson and the Dark Angels doing something completely against what he had ordered, which will happen. And El Johnson, when Guilliman makes another decision seemingly in his own self-interest, which will happen. And I think Rogal has the best balance of aspect to achieve that, to get his brothers both to listen. And even if we look at the more removed, practical factors, Rogal, of all the remaining Primarchs who could return, is probably the most well-known and highly regarded across the Imperium. The one-time Lord Commander, and the Emperor's Praetorian. He would have the respect across all the Astartes bloodlines, and within the Imperial powers who know the true history. And the Imperial Fists themselves have been a paragon of Imperial loyalty and defense for millennia, embracing the Codex, saving Terra during the War of the Beast, even having one of their own as a Lord Commander too. And then you have the Black Templars to boot, undoubtedly the largest force of Astartes across the Imperium, a true legion, one that worships the God Emperor. Rogal might hate the embraced Sigismund worship of his father, but they are his sons regardless, and so it places Rogal at the top of a prodigiously powerful force, giving him a very powerful voice as a result. And so here we have a Primarch who would undoubtedly have his brother's respect as a commander, have his brother's respect as a leader, have his brother's respect as a warrior, and even have his brother's respect for the force he can command. For me, it all really makes Rogal the absolute best Primarch suited to stand between Roboute and the Lion when those inevitable arguments arise. Now, whether or not he will be that next Primarch back is another question entirely. But as always everyone, what do you think? Do you agree with me that Rogal Dorn is the best suited Primarch to return next, to be that barrier between the Lion and Roboute? The one Primarch who could perhaps get the both of them to see sense, who has that equal measure of respect and command to make them listen? Or do you think another Primarch would be the better option? The compassion of Vulcan, or the pure temper of a Leman Russ? Maybe the out-of-the-box thinking of a Jagatai? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.